So I've put boundaries on what I can do in the office as well, which is good. I'm no longer just saying blindly yes to everything. And I find that I'm so much happier and so much less stressed because I am saying no to some of these things.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Dr. Kathy Gruver. Previously, episode 619 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 10 months, 27 days, and 1 hour since we last had that podcast conversation.
Just remember that you have choices, that you have options, that no matter what stands in front of us, at the very least can change the way we think about it. So make a different choice. Take that risk, go for it, have the adventure, and really live this life to its fullest.
That was then. This is now. How are you doing today, Kathy?
I'm doing so well. So much exciting stuff happening in my world, in the world. So yeah, so excited to talk to you again.
Yeah, the last time we spoke, I remember it was like yesterday. There were a ton of things going on. One of your aspirations to become a full-time speaker. How is that going?
You know, I have increased my speaking gigs so much. And I was just talking to a friend. I'm actually doing less speaking gigs, but more of them pay and more of them pay well. So I've eliminated a lot of the free ones that I was doing, which has, maximized my time better. It's led to less stress, gives me more time to actually find those other more lucrative speaking opportunities. So yeah, it's going really, really well. I did tons of talks in this past year. So
yeah, that's wonderful.
Very exciting. Yeah.
That's wonderful. It's a repetitive scenario theme that I'm seeing with those that are coming back onto the podcast, and it's the process to purpose. It feels as though there's a ton of I'm available whenever, however, and then it evolves into, okay, I can't do this forever. I need to be more strategic with this. Is that something that occurred with you on this path?
Yeah, absolutely. And also in my private practice, I've eliminated doing more evenings. I'm only doing one weekend a month. So I've put boundaries on what I can do in the office as well, which is good. I'm no longer just saying blindly yes to everything. So I'm being more selective in who I'm seeing because I'm realizing, yeah, sure, I could work that extra 5 hours and make more money. And is that the best use of my time for my own health? And so I'm taking more time to do more exercise. I'm doing more dance. I'm doing more trapeze. And I find that I'm so much happier and so much less stressed because I am saying no to some of these things. Now, we can't say no to everything. We do have to make a living. But I'm finding I'm being a little more selective with who I'm allowing into my space and have my time. It's been an interesting learning for me. I'm giving myself permission to relax a little bit more, which is unusual for me and very fun.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Love how you have matured, right? It's definitely maturity that's set in there.
Yeah.
But most definitely as well, the choice when exercised is most powerful. Reflection seems to be a major part of how we grow and how we learn, how we become even more effective, because you get to show up and be more effective when you do show up. Yeah. When you look at the younger you, how do you analyze? Again, they say hindsight is 20/20, right?
Sure.
But are you forgiving to the younger you, or do you believe the younger you could have done better?
Oh, well, both. I mean, we can always look back and do a better job for things. It's that Monday morning quarterback of, had I just done, we can always review anything and see how we would change things. And I'm incredibly forgiving to my younger self because I was working with the tools that I had, and I was working in that reality and in that mindset that I had at that age. And I'm finding myself hanging out with people who are so much younger than me. And I kind of look and see their view of the world and see how they handle things. And I can see myself in that. And so it's been fun because I've been able to act sort of as a coach to them and as an example to them of, I remember when I had that similar experience and I did this and now I wish I would have done that. And, we have all these experiences, I believe so strongly, to help shape the next people that are going to have that experience. I found that with injuries. I found that with procedures. I found that with life circumstances. It's a learning so that we can process that ourselves and then hopefully help others through that same thing. So I never regret anything. I never quote, wish I could go back and change things. I don't feel the need to go back and relive that again and again. To me, it's just about being in this present moment and how can I move forward into the future with grace and ease and a little more smart, using my head a little bit more.
Now, you have been speaking a lot, and anyone that's listening can hear the breaths that you're holding between a sentence, which goes pretty long, right? Which speaks to your fitness level, I believe. What are you doing? And from the perspective of alternative medicine, what's going on there?
Yeah, I still do. I got acupuncture every once in a while. I'm slightly congested today. I had a little bit of cold I could feel trying to take a hold, which is really unusual for me. So I'm heading for acupuncture later today. Been making sure I keep up with my chiropractic and my massage and my vitamins and all that good stuff. And I've been dancing more. I'm dancing now 3 or 4 days a week, and I'm still doing the flying trapeze. I am so enjoying getting to do that more. It's just fueled me, and I just feel so much better. I think this is the strongest I've ever been, which is
Wow,
pretty cool.
that's great. You've identified one of your purposes as to educate people. How's that been going?
That's great. I've actually started my coaching practice. So I'm not just doing the massage and hypnotherapy. I'm actually doing a lot more coaching, which I love to do. And I realize if there has to be a call, I think all of this was my calling because it's all under sort of the same umbrella. But I love working with people one-on-one and helping them uncover their purpose and helping them get unblocked and get unstuck. And it's a combination of, everything I've learned. I studied psychology, I studied human behavior, with all the speaking, with the improv, with the acting, with the hypnosis, with everything that I've studied. So, my 50 years of existence on this planet has now sort of morphed into this, let me help you figure it out. Let me help you make those strides and moving towards what you want. So I'm loving the coaching side of what I'm doing.
When we last spoke, you were married.
Yeah.
Are you still married?
Nope. It's been a heck of a year for me. So I left my husband sort of last year at this time. I left him last September, moved out in November. And then just a few months ago in May, my father passed away. So I am finding these huge life circumstances have actually allowed me to have a little more clarity in what I want. My father was all about play and all about sort of being frivolous with your time, whereas I was so driven and so this has to get done in this amount of time. And I'm sort of now finding I'm channeling a little bit more of my father and taking it easy and being gentle with myself and being a little more fun with my time. And same thing, the weight after, leaving a 20-year relationship, it's made me really look at what do I want, not only in relationship, but just in life. What do I want? What will I and won't I put up with? What are my values? And I've done a lot of work with values in the last year of really focusing in with this laser focus of what do I want my practice to look like? What do I want to shape my life to be? So to me, there are no negative experiences. So yeah, it was tragic, the fact that a 20-year relationship ended, and it has now led me to such self-discovery and such growth and learning that, I can't say it was a bad thing. So now you can absolutely keep that in.
Wonderful. How does one traverse such time? I can understand it's challenging to make the decision. And then from a married individual asking another person who's been married, how do you traverse? It's one thing to make the decision and then you step away, but then it's the transitional period, right? That's challenging, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Once I looked at him in the eyes and said, yeah, so I'm going to move out tomorrow. It was actually relatively simple. It was getting to the point of having the guts to look that person in the eye who you thought you'd spend the rest of your life with and say that. It was incredibly painful. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of, well, maybe we can give it another shot. Well, I don't know. And I began to realize that I just had to be truthful with myself and realize there was no other shot. Like, we had given it all the shots there was. So it was really a matter of just bearing myself to myself and doing that self-reflection and saying, what do I want? Is this making me happy? Is this working? I deserve, it's my birthright, it's all of our birthright to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be loved, to be loving. And if that's not working, what choices do you have to make, as hard as they might be, to make sure you are living your highest, best self? And so as difficult as it was, it led me to so much other discovery. And then on top of that, to lose my dad. So I realized that all these identities were being stripped away. So I'm no longer wife, I'm no longer daughter, I'm no longer caregiver. It was suddenly this tearing off of masks. And it's like, okay, who are you? Who are you without these men in your life? And what do you want to create for yourself? So it's been a fascinating time. And I can't say I've always handled it well. There were plenty of nights with, an empty bottle of wine and me sitting there staring at the TV for a while. But But that's a temporary thing. We all get to escape every once in a while. I think it's healthy. But yeah, so it's been a hell of a journey.
When we spoke the first time, you talked about the pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
And it's definitely what you're in currently, isn't it?
Yes.
Or was in at that time, the pattern interrupt.
Yep. Oh, I'm still in it because it's now encouraging me to look at so many other things. Do I want to stay in the location where I am? Do I want to continue doing my practice the way it is? So it is tossed up. It's sort of like you have that snow globe and it looks like everything's calm and fine and everything's settled down to the bottom. And then someone grabs it and shakes it up and you're like, oh, and you're forced to watch that all, and it settles in its own time. And the more you keep shaking it, the less it's going to settle. So I realize my snow globe is still in that state of there's bunch of crap floating around, and I have to just take a breath, wait for it to settle until I can figure out what that picture actually is that I want to create. So I'm still in the chaos of the snow globe. Yep, absolutely.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for sharing that, because it's you showing up as who you are, and that is real. Sometimes we need real to understand the real things that happen in life. But I think you'll jump through this. The trapeze aspect of who you are, I believe, has been training for the experience that is ahead of you. So it'll be interesting 1 year from now just to check in and see how you've evolved and to see where things are going. Synchronicity is a fascinating experience. The conversation before you, Jeremy the Merchant, like he shared as well, he lost his mother. And it's a tone of the conversation we've taken up now, because the inspiration for these conversations is because of guests that were on the podcast that passed. And I thought, oh my, it's so necessary to check in and see where individuals are and ensure that there's a credibility as well to those that were on the podcast. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it's, again, we have these personal experiences to share this stuff. And right after my father died, ironically, I was actually on my way to do my TEDx talk in the car when I found out he passed away. So I had to go do my talk in that state of grief and shock and all those things. But right after my dad died, I had done a 3-hour workshop on stress. And I actually ended up sharing quite a bit about my mindset and the thought processes that I was going through as I was managing and dealing with his death. And I had so many people come up to me afterwards and say, thank you so much for sharing that. It helped me figure out da-da-da-da, and I lost so-and-so. And, so to me, anytime we share those personal things, and it shouldn't be therapy, I shouldn't spend all 3 hours talking about, oh, my grief, but to use it as an anecdote rather than an identity, I think that helps so many other people navigate through that stuff. So I am always willing to share personal things. To me, that's one of the reasons we go through it.
Love that. Well, my friend, this has been a great pleasure. Oh my, you haven't stopped. You've kept going. You are not giving up for anything. And
Nope.
I'm really glad to hear that. My friend Kathy, this is such a great pleasure. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I can help in any way, anything I can do to help, I love sharing my knowledge with others. That's the whole reason I do it. So if you go to kathygruver.com and you can find out about my coaching and my books and my speaking and all that good stuff. And I'm just happy to connect with people and learn about your stories and learn about the struggles and the challenges that we navigate through.
Well, there we go. kathygruver.com. Kathy, again, a great pleasure. Pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.